You might be thinking that this lens is a joke because it's this thin. Basically, it's as thin as a body cap for your full-frame mirrorless camera. But in this video, I will prove that the Viltrox 28mm f4.5 pancake lens, you actually have to take it seriously. This is not a toy at all. So I have an ongoing relationship with Viltrox. They often send me lenses, and they recently contacted me. Hey Miklos, would you like to review our 28mm f4.5 lens? And I looked at the specs, and it just looks like a toy. And at first I was like a bit offended, like, you know, I'm like a serious photographer. I would like to review something that isn't like a toy. So I went out to Budapest and took some photos, and when I looked at the images, I was really pleasantly surprised. But before we dive into the image quality, let's see how the lens is actually built. So it's got this innovative cap design. There's like a door you have to open. So if you actually put the rear lens cap on, it makes the lens like twice as thick. But if you take it off, it's 15 millimeters thick, so that's almost like ½ inch. And in the back, it also has a USB-C port for future firmware updates. This lens has a fixed f4.5 aperture, which means that you cannot stop it down, and of course you cannot open it up more. So this is the maximum depth of field that you can get with this lens. Or this is the maximum background blur you can get with this lens. You will not have any more background blur than this. I think now I'm the closest to the camera. Kacsák érdekesebbek. And what I really like in this lens is that Viltrox just blew Panasonic away. You remember recently Panasonic introduced the 26mm f8 lens, which is like a joke. It's f8, but this is almost the same size, but it's like half the price, and the aperture is twice as good. This lens has 6 elements in 6 group, and it also has an ED element. I don't understand 6 elements and 6 groups, so that means one group is like 1 element. So it's just 6 elements, right? Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. Also, this lens doesn't have a focusing ring, so there's no way you can actually manually focus on this lens. It doesn't have a ring. And the only drawback of this pancake design that I could find is really like, it's just hilarious, but it's so thin that I'm struggling to have a grip on the lens. It's not easy to actually grip it and then screw it onto the camera. So sometimes I was struggling to actually put it on the camera because I just couldn't have my fingers touch this very thin wall here. But the obvious advantage of this lens for street photography is that even if this thing is open, people will not know that you have a lens on the camera. So people will assume that you are just walking around with a camera like shut down, because it really looks like you have something blocking your camera. So you can really have some natural street photography because people will actually not notice that you're shooting. It has 28mm focal length and it fits full-frame mirrorless cameras. So it's almost like a semi-wide angle lens. You can take wide landscape shots. And here are some photos from Budapest, Hungary. When I started going through them, I was pleasantly surprised. So although I couldn't play with the aperture, it's always 4.5. The depth of field is quite wide. If you focus further away, everything is going to be sharp. And the lens is generally very, very sharp. And here, with this blue hour shot, I really like how it renders those starbursts. Maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but look, it's almost like extending throughout the whole frame. This lens creates some very interesting flaring, and especially unique sunbursts. Look how the spikes of the sun just go through almost the whole frame. This lens was definitely not intended for astro landscape photography, but still I gave it a try and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. Look, there is not much chroma or color fringing on the stars. This is a single exposure and this is 9 images stacked and light painted. As always, don't forget to download the sample photos at the link under the video. So this is an autofocusing lens, but in my experience on the Nikon Z5 Mark II, the autofocusing sometimes it was hunting a bit too much for my taste, especially if I was shooting people. And I didn't have this issue with the Nikon Z5 Mark II with other lenses, so maybe in this case it's really the lens. So a 28mm 4.5 lens is not exactly a portrait lens or not exactly a lens that you would shoot people with. But for landscapes and street photography, I really like this lens. I like the focal length and it's just obviously super light on the camera. So overall, I really recommend this lens if you are into candid street photography and you want to make sure that people are not really paying attention to you because they will think that you don't have anything on the camera, so you are not even taking photos. And it can be also good for some landscapes, but maybe the drawback is that you cannot really stop down the lens. So it's a fixed f4.5 aperture. So it's super light, super cheap, optical quality is also good enough. So I recommend you buy this lens just to have like a body cap on your camera and it will really not take up any space in your photography backpack. See you soon and all the best from Hungary. Viltrox 28mm. Csak oda kell magam a teleportálnom, várjál.